You're live.
Terrible, disgusting, outrageous, appalling, sickening, pitiful. Need I go on? The Detroit Pistons put their belt to our ass tonight as the Knicks fall to the Detroit Pistons in the first meeting of the season, 121-190. The Knicks defense was terrible all game on both ends. Sorry, from the three and in the paint. We were out-hustled, out-rebounded, and flat-out outplayed tonight. Don't let the offensive percentages fool you. While they look decent, the Knicks did take less shots than them, 10 to be exact, and only had 15 assists. You heard that right, Knicks fans. The Knicks had just 15 assists, including 0 from our captain, Jalen Brunson. That's not going to win us any games in this league, never mind against a top team in the NBA. This kind of play is just completely unacceptable from the New York Knicks. Cat had another terrible night as well, with 6 points and just 1 rebound. So the questions are, what's changed? Why is the ball not moving so freely anymore? What's going on with Cat? And what do we need to do to get back to winning? I'm Miss Knicks with the Knicks and Ish panel, aka Knickerbocker Ave tonight. Get ready because tempers are high, but we're still here to talk some Knicks and Ish, and you've been warned.
I guess we should now just hit the intro.
Boom shakalaka! Boom shakalaka! Boom shakalaka! Boom shakalaka! Boom shakalaka!
If it wants to work.
Boom shakalaka! The Knicks! Boom shakalaka!
Just our luck, I guess. No intro today.
Boom shakalaka! The Knicks are great. These kids and our party just lit. That's the parlay lord. You know we lick Knickerbocker, have a talk to him. Let's go! Drip, 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 drip. It's in this. Drip, 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 drip. We lit.
Yeah.
Peekaboo, yeah. Live and direct on your YouTube screen once again. It's
so
your
not
favorite.
only do the Knicks get smoked tonight, so are we, I guess.
Y'all already know the vibe because I am the one and only Parlay Lord, aka Frass Tass, here in the building with the Knicks and Ish panel, not limited to and always including the First Lady of Knicks and Ish, Mrs. Knicks in the building. And of course, we got to throw up the salute to my good brother Knickerbocker Ave. Yeah, I mean, press like for your favorite panel. Sharing is always caring. If you're new, make sure you hit the subscribe button and make sure you turn that bell on so you get all notifications when Knicks and Ish goes live. Anybody out there in the comments yet? Nostalgic Nick, welcome, man. Salute to you for pulling up. Who else in here? A little quick housekeeping. Nobody really here yet. Another abysmal loss by the New York Knicks tonight against the Detroit Pistons. Final score 121-90, if I'm correct. The only bright spot tonight really was JB with 25. Cat play like shit. OG play like shit. But I ain't gonna say too much. I'm gonna let the panel get into it and let the panel give me their initial thoughts.
I was frustrated the last couple of games, but today the Knicks have outdone themselves with my emotions today. And I will say, I'm very rarely lost for words, but today, that's kind of how I feel because I don't want to just curse all show. We were outplayed, like I said on the intro, outplayed, out hustled. Our entire team, not starting lineup, entire team was in the negative today, and that's just not gonna do it. You know, Jalen gave us 25, but other than that, nothing. Deuce gave us 17. A lot of it was, I think 6 of them were at the end when it didn't matter anymore. Cat giving us 6 points. You're not giving us reason to not talk trade talks with your name, giving us these type of games every night. OG 5 points, Mitchell Robinson 2 points, McCall 10 points. It's just like, as I'm putting together the show, all I can say was Jalen Brunson had 25 points. Like, there was literally nothing else to write because that's how bad this game was. You know, 15 assists, absolutely terrible. Terrible. The only thing that goes in my mind is, if this is how much Josh is missed, I better never hear trade talks involving Josh's name ever again. Because if we're going to lose like this without him, that tells you how valuable he is to this team. And I better never see no shit like this again, because this isn't a team that's going to win a championship. This is a team that's going to be a big letdown for us this season. And we're too talented for this shit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now that my technical difficulties are over, let me just say this. The Knicks tonight, I've been saying this, I said this last game, I'm saying this, they played like pure ass. Straight basura. The Pistons beat them in every statistical category from the moment the moment the game was close at the end of the first quarter. They knew everything the Knicks were going to do before the Knicks did it, and they capitalized. And the sad thing about it is that Mike Brown made no adjustment. You saw no adjustment in the offense. Once they realized that the paint was going to be clogged up, they made no adjustments to create spacing, to get guys in foul trouble, to look for matchups, and they kept turning the ball over at an increasingly high rate against a team that loves to run, is twice as athletic, has length, speed, and athleticism. Among some of the great teams in the NBA right now. And the Pistons, for whatever reason, tonight when they saw the opponent, they played like this game was their game 7 of last year's playoffs. They were looking to put the finishing touches on a series win, and the Knicks had no response, absolutely none. Mrs. Knicks already touched on it. Jalen Brunson, 6 turnovers. Karl Anthony Towns, 6 turnovers. Mikal Bridges had 2. OG had 3. I mean, it goes down the line, and I mean, you're expecting the loss. I mean, obviously, in a long season, you're expecting losses, and you're expecting to have some bad losses here and there. But when you know that this other team has been gearing up for you since May of last year, knowing full well that the way they've been feeling, the way they've looked up to this matchup, and you haven't responded, on top of the fact that you're already coming into this show on a 3-game losing streak. I guess you can call this a holiday hangover or something, but this looks really bad. I mean, really bad. And the way Mrs. Knicks pointed out, it's like it makes it a whole lot easier for fans and for the front office to look at these last 4 games, look at who's been performing, look who hasn't, and really consider, maybe we do need to make a change. Maybe we do need to make a trade. And obviously, as Sis already pointed out, Josh Hart better not be involved in any of them. Because but you can throw in Karl Anthony Towns now. You can now look at other guys like a Tyler Kolek. You can start looking at guys like a Kevin McCullough Jr. Hell, you could almost make a case about trading Deuce McBride because other teams are going to want him. The Knicks have not answered the call since that San Antonio game. It's like once that fourth quarter and that game started, they shut down, and they've shut down ever since, and they haven't woken up yet. And we're starting to wonder, can they? Will they? And does Mike Brown know what to do when it's time to do that? Because so far, I haven't seen it.
You muted.
My bad. I mean, let's not forget Detroit is the number one defensive team in the East. Not taking nothing away from them. They literally came out in that second quarter and shut everything down. And it was just like, ugh. I think the Knicks had the lowest quarter of the season this year with 15 points. Was that the third quarter? Yeah. 15 points is unacceptable in any NBA game. You only score 15 points in a quarter. That is a trash quarter. And the fact that Cade Cunningham almost had as many assists as the entire Knicks team by himself, that told me there was no ball movement. Guys were not hitting their shots, and guys was forcing a lot of stuff up. Like the fact that it took basically for the fourth quarter to happen to finally see some type of motion from Cat was bad. It was like, why wasn't you going to the second option early on in the game? Because the simple fact of the matter is, teams already come out keying in on Brunson. And guys know that. So somebody got to step up. Nobody stepped up tonight and answered the bell like they should have. OG had an abysmal night. Cat had an abysmal night. Bridges had a mediocre night. Clarkson had a mediocre night off the bench. All in all, it was just a bad game. You got two more times to see the Detroit Pistons this year. There needs to be some type of adjustment. Because I'm going to tell you like this. A team like Detroit, we were supposed to do what Detroit did, is keep our foot on the gas pedal. They had their foot on the gas the whole entire game. You know what I'm saying? And the Knicks just did not have any type of answers after the first quarter. You know what I mean? Also, this loss does drop us to third because Boston did win. So we did fall a slot, but we still higher than a lot of bottom feeders. You know what I mean?
So since you mentioned the bottom feeders, because we have some of their fans in our chat every night, I will say this. I'm not entertaining niggas that don't talk basketball. And I'm not entertaining puppet ass niggas because the other night when Tone got booted, Dwayne ain't have shit to say. But now that they hear it's ha 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 ha, yapping. I'm not with that shit.
Well, let me say this since I'm addressing that. I'm gonna be laughing at y'all when y'all make the play, if y'all even make the play. What happened to Jaime Jaquez? But I'll get on that subject in the Knicks-ish part later. All right.
Oh my God.
And just like that, get the fuck out my chat. Anyway, so let's talk Knicks.
So obviously this kind of reminds me a little bit of how the Knicks were playing with, last season against the top 3 teams in the NBA: Boston, Cleveland, OKC. In all 10 of those games, the Knicks they came out with energy in the first quarter, and all of a sudden they had nothing, and they got smoked in all 10 of those games. Some of the games were, they were kind of competitive, final score wise, but the Knicks had nothing. Knicks had nothing. And tonight, Knicks had nothing pretty much from about the last 2 minutes of the first quarter all the way down. Your thoughts?
I think not only from the last 2 minutes, I felt like all game they just looked flat. And what bothers me is that the only thing I could think of is how impactful Josh is to this team. However, offensively, he's not that present. So is it really the Josh not being here effect, or is something else going on? I mean, the body language they look dead, period. Like, even Jalen doesn't even look angry like he normally would look. It looks like more frustrated. Macau looks lost almost. Like, when he's like sitting on the bench and you're looking at them, it's like they don't even know what to do. And it's just, I don't know. I really am lost for what the hell has happened to the team that played so well in the month of December. I'm not chalking it up to playing the NBA Cup and not getting enough rest. And nah. That to me, that's not a good enough excuse.
But is there something to be said about that? Because you just mentioned the NBA Cup, and if I'm not mistaken, both the Lakers and the Milwaukee Bucks, after winning the NBA Cup, also went through some setbacks following winning the Cup. Of course, for the Knicks, it wasn't immediate because they still kept on winning up until New Year's Eve, and all of a sudden, in the San Antonio game. So, Fraz, do you think that the NBA Cup had something to do with that, or is this just coincidence?
Well, I'm gonna say a little bit of both. I mean, it kind of is coincidence. They had a rough stretch. You had 2 back-to-back games there. And normally we play well at the Garden. We looked flat even in the Garden. We didn't come out with the normal energy that we usually come out with. And like Sis said, that you could tell that energy is missing. Like it was there on all cylinders at one point. Now it just looks like it's fading. Like it's fading away. Like, so I also think that you play the cup game where it doesn't count for the regular season. So in a sense, you're playing an extra game. How much of an effect that extra game may have, it got some effect, because the guys are playing, and they definitely wanted to win it. So they gave a lot for that game, and I don't know. I honestly just think it's a combination of both. This team needs to hit the reset button, and this team needs to just go back to the drawing board and work on some things. Because right now it's just not clicking the way that it normally clicks, like you saw in the first 25, 30 games. It's just not clicking like that right now. And these kind of things happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna say it don't. It happens. But the great teams find a way to come back from these things. And I'll be curious to see if the Knicks bounce back. Coming when's the next game? Wednesday, Thursday?
Yeah, we play Wednesday at home against the Clippers.
Okay, so I'll be curious to see how the Knicks respond at home against the Clippers.
Well, in all honesty, there really isn't any acceptable way for them to respond. other than to come into the Garden on Wednesday night and put not belt to ass, belts to ass. I mean, they all have to take their belts off and start putting it to ass. I mean, this is getting. I mean, the Knicks kind of have to snap themselves out of this funk because, I mean, if you just look at the shooting percentages over the last 4 games, the Knicks are shooting under 37% over the last 4 games, under 30-something%. I think it's like 32 or 31 from downtown. And they're turning the ball over at an average clip of 22 to 24 a game for an average of about almost 26 points a night. So if you keep on doing that, and they're getting killed in the paint, they're like a minus 20 in the paint all 4 of those games. So you do something about that, and then you can at least stay competitive. But at the moment, right now, the Knicks are just not doing anything. They're not making any kind of adjustments. And when they see that the shots are not dropping and the paint is getting clogged up, there's no playmaking ability for Jalen, so or for anyone else for that matter. And when they're doubling up and applying that pressure to Jalen, what is the other Knicks supposed to do? Most of them are just standing around. You see Cat, off to the wing, behind the 3-point line. You see OG stuck in a corner. It's like they're all still waiting for their catch and shoot 3, but it's like you also have to create the space and create that shot for yourself. And right now, no one is doing it but Jalen, and the opposition knows it.
Yeah, I mean, early on, you saw guys moving without the ball, getting easy layups. Now it's kind of like, okay, you see them getting a little bit frustrated. They're not setting proper screens. Just the little things right now that are not being done. You know what I mean? Like, we need to just go back to fundamentals and, because this is what the great teams do. Even you got, what I mean? Look at the Popovich regime in San Antonio. Like, this is what great teams do. They find a way to get back in it. And like I said, I'm just waiting to rebound this guy.
But I guess my question to you is Mike Brown able to do that? In years past as a head coach, he had, when he was at Cleveland, obviously he had LeBron to kind of bail him out. In Sacramento, when De'Aaron Fox went down, he had no answer. When Sabonis went down, he had no answer. When he had all these other, key pieces in Sacramento and made them one of the fastest teams in the league, once injuries and setbacks and just teams started to prepare for them, he had no answer. He had no adjustment. And I'm starting to see a little bit of that same trend now with the Knicks, where certain opponents will gear up and, do just about the simplest things. Apply the pressure and double up on Brunson. Take away the paint. Try to, box out Mitchell Robinson. Make it neutralize him. Make Karl Anthony Towns uncomfortable. Make him commit stupid, silly fouls, which they did that a lot tonight. And you've been seeing that. You saw that in the Philly game. You saw that at Atlanta game. You saw that in the San Antonio game. And I'm starting to wonder what the hell. Where is the Karl Anthony Towns we traded for? Where's the Karl Anthony Towns that is an all-NBA player, multiple-time All-Star, was the first overall pick coming out of Kentucky so many years ago? Where's that guy? Because right now, he's MIA, and I don't mean Miami.
Well, here's another thing I've been thinking about, too. It's like for some reason, it's like there's no going to the basket anymore. There's none. It's just like we just did a complete 360 from all the things that we was doing to get us to the second seed. And thank you. You brought it up because that was the other thing I was going to get into. You can't play pace with a team like Detroit. All right. If Detroit plays at their pace, it favors them. When you play their style of basketball, it favors them. It's like saying you're playing down to your opponent. There was no transition in this game. I barely saw a transition game for the New York Knicks tonight. Barely. And if I did, it was block shots from Detroit. So
Or turnovers.
that was the killer in the first half. What do we have? Like double-digit turnovers in the first half? Like that was a killer. Straight killer. So it's like, you can't let yourself digress into those things. But at the same time, it's like nobody decided to up the tempo like how Josh Hart normally does when we play these type of teams. There was no tempo whatsoever. Like,
And that's the problem. Like when we play like we did today, it makes it easy for teams to defend Jalen. They're going to go back and default to what teams did last season because no one else is a threat. And we cannot allow that. Like the whole point of this offense and having the guys around him like Cat and McCall and OG and Deuce, guys that can shoot threes, Jordan Clarkson, etc., is to make it easier for Jalen. And yet, over these last 3 to 4 games, the game seems to be hard again for him because teams are putting 2 and 3 bodies on him because no one else is doing anything. No one else is being aggressive. No one else is taking it into the hole. No one else is doing everything that was working up until this point. And if this is going to continue, it's going to be a tough season.
Well, I like to leave that up to the chat. If you have a comment, anything that you want to do, please hit us up with a super chat. Write down, put it right there. Because right now the Knicks, to me, survey says they suck. They suck bad right now. Pause.
Let me address this comment.
Oh.
So I'm all for holding guys accountable. Jalen having 0 assists, unacceptable. Unacceptable. You're the point guard. But let's keep it 100. If Jalen didn't start trying to go off, we might have lost by 50 tonight. Because no one else was going to do nothing. So it's not a matter of he went nut. Again, when you think about last season, he had no choice but to go nut, right? And the season before that too. And these last 4 games, it's been that same thing. He has to because no one else is stepping up. So it can't be a damned if he do, damned if he don't situation. You hold him accountable for his play and what he did, absolutely. But if he doesn't shoot and score, then who else is? Because Cat had 6 points. And Cat was in the game quite a lot of minutes that JB wasn't in the game. And Cat did absolutely nothing. So who's gonna hold the weight? Like somebody else has to help him.
well, I also want to add one thing real quick that I've been noticing that players need to stop doing on the Knicks right now. Stop worrying about the damn foul calls. The reason why I say this is because players like Cat and Brunson get consumed and worrying about the foul calls, and the team running down the floor on the other end of transition, getting an easy bucket. And not only that, it takes you out of the game mentally because here you are, you worried about foul calls. Now you're not driving to the hoop with the same confidence. You're not playing with the same confidence, and that's a killer, especially when Cat be arguing them calls half the time. It's like, bro, keep your head in the game. Like little things like that take you out of the game. Trust me, I know. I played ball for quite a few years. I know.
I mean, I said it in the last show. That needs to be on coach because is today's loss a foul call loss? Absolutely not. This game was a complete loss on the team. However, if you watch what I watch, not only tonight, in previous games, teams are allowed to be ultra aggressive with us and we can't be ultra aggressive back. And so that's the not fair part, not the reason we're losing. So don't say I'm making excuses, because I'm not making excuses, but it's a fact. It's an observation. That's what I'm seeing. Even Layla's watching the game with me. She's saying the same thing. Like, yeah, some of the shit, absolutely. That hook that Cat does, absolutely is going to get called for offensive foul every time. But some of them fucking offensive fouls that were called today was nonsense. You know what I mean? And they're hacking too. Like, you either going to let it play or you're not going to let them play. You know what I mean? And it should be the same on both ends. Again, not an excuse for tonight's nonsense. But you're right, Fraz. Like, they get so consumed with it that they forget that we're playing a game. It's not a dead ball. We're playing a game. And so that's where I feel like Coach Brown needs to jump in and either make a call to the league or take a fucking technical for the team and, let it be known like this is some nonsense. Because the guys at this point are ultra frustrated. I would be too if I'm getting hacked. You know what I mean? I'm frustrated. The fact that Cat's call got reversed and put into an offensive foul when it was a natural shooting motion, when you're going up to the basket, your knee usually will rise. That's not an offensive foul. That's a normal shooting motion. You know what I mean? You know what play I'm talking about when Cade went down? That was normal. The fact that what's his name with the dreads? I forget his name. Didn't get called. Stewart didn't get called for a flagrant when he was JB landed dead on his foot. That's a fucking flagrant foul based off of rules.
Yeah, Deuce been doing that to JB all season. They've been doing that to JB all season.
I'm gonna mention it, but the commentators on Peacock are ass. I thought Prime was bad. Peacock is ass.
But it's definitely Grant Hill, yes.
What the chick's name was. She didn't even know players' names. She called McCall Deuce. She called Deuce McCall. She called Deuce Josh. Josh ain't even been playing. How the fuck you call Josh's name? Like, your ass. Get her off my TV. But it was terrible. But she's like, oh, but Jalen Brunson kicked out his foot. No, you dumb bitch. You don't watch him? That's his fucking normal shooting motion. Oh, I'm so frustrated.
They just looking for everything to nitpick on the Knicks right now, and players.
It's terrible. And the fact that this wasn't like a Detroit broadcast, it sure sounded like one.
Yeah.
Well, considering Grant Hill was on the commentary, he was the I don't know if he was play-by-play or color, but it was between him and Jalen Rose, all those cuts to him. Meanwhile, Spike Lee is on the other side of the court, and no one's paying a single attention to him. I mean, I don't know. That's just me. But let's just move it along, because if we get here talking about this loss, we'll be here all night. It is a Monday night. Oh yeah, trust me,
bro. I already have a headache. Trust me.
Goose Faber.
Lord.
But yeah, Cat really needed to stop doing that. Karl Anthony Towns really needs to stop complaining about fouls every call. At the same time, they should start making more calls for him, because it's kind of crazy to me that every time he drives the lane, he's on the fucking floor and there's not a call made. I mean, he didn't get there by himself. I mean, I know he's not the most graceful human being in the world, but I'm pretty sure he can run down the lane and go for a layup or a dunk and not end up with his ass on the floor. I mean, but at the same time, Cat can't be. That should be on Coach. Like, you're right. That should be on Coach Brown to be getting on the refs to make sure those calls are being split down the middle. But Cat cannot be the one arguing it for him, because if not, I mean, Cat, please stop.
Jackass.
Please stop. But anyways, moving it along, news broke today here in New York City, as finally, after so long, we haven't seen him or heard from him in a long time. New York Knicks owner James Dolan was on WFAN today. He was discussing the state of the team, and a lot of questions were rose. Did you two guys happen to hear it? Think about it. Anything you want to mention about it?
I mean, there was two parts that kind of stuck out in my head when I was watching. Let me see. So we'll talk about this one first.
Well, look, Leon and I talk about everything, right? Even not basketball stuff.
Got it.
So, the team is really built on the shoulders of Tom Thibodeau, right? He built that core, sure. Right? We went as far as we did last year, and so you really got to take your hat off to Tom, and the job that he did. But we did come to the conclusion that we had an idea of how we wanted to organize the team, and actually it goes for both teams, and that meant we needed to evolve, right? Actually, beyond the old traditional coaching,
right?
Formulas.
So that part stuck out to me because clearly was a group discussion. It wasn't something that, one person in the front office made. And it was like what we talked about. Like Tibbs took us to what we thought was probably the best that we could be under him. And it was time to move on. Now, did they make the right decision? That's TBD, to be determined. As of right now, it doesn't look that way. It doesn't look like it was smart. I feel like Tibbs would have held these guys accountable for this nonsense that we see. Although, in games that we played well, I even mentioned Tibbs would have never played the young guys. We would never be seeing the Tyler Koleks and all them. So it's kind of like a little bit of both, right? Like, I get it. It's just so weird to even see Dolan on screen and hear him talk about the Knicks because he's been so quiet for so long. Kind of makes me a little nervous, to be honest, because when he starts getting involved in shit usually goes wrong. But I mean, it was good to hear him say like they saw kind of like what we saw as fans as well.
Raz? You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Shout out to James Dolan for not wanting to hang an NBA Cup banner in the garden. Why would I want to hang that thing up anyway? There's only one banner I want in the garden, and it goes right next to the other two that's already up there with the Larry O'Brien trophy on it. The hell do I care about an NBA Cup champion banner when it's not the end game? It's not the ultimate goal. That's the reason why this team got built the way it's built, is to pursue the Larry O'Brien trophy. Yes, I get it. Players wanted to play for that extra bread in the NBA Cup. I salute them. I'm not going to knock them for that. Y'all did that. But at the same time, y'all need to bring that same energy back that y'all have for the NBA Cup and play every game with that type of energy. Because at the end of the day, the fall off is crazy. It's like the team fell off a cliff or something. Like, what happened, man?
For sure.
So listen to James Dolan talk. First of all, I've always had mixed feelings about James Dolan because we know who he is, we know what he's done, and we know how things are operated at Madison Square Garden for so many years. Ever since
he's capable of.
We are very much very capable of what he's done. I mean, look at the people he's put in power. He's put Isaiah Thomas, Scott Layden, Phil Jackson, Steve Mills. I mean, the list goes on and on. Yeah, I mean, he he raises my blood pressure for the most part. But to be honest with you, the fact that it was nice to hear what he said, giving Tom Thibodeau his flowers, making sure that people understood that he recognized that, and the good explanation as to why the change needed to be made. However, I still know the old James Dolan, and I know how the media and the press are the things that he adores and loves. And therefore, I can't help but look at it as a perfectly prepared statement that he's reciting, that he's memorized and knew what to say. I have a hard time believing anything James Dolan says, because as much as he says that he's hands off, I need to really have that faith that he is hands off and not to meddle. And I don't know if there's any kind of idea or any kind of future where he doesn't do that, unless he's building another sphere in Vegas or something. I mean, that's the only time I feel more comfortable with it. But until then, unless he's building something else in Abu Dhabi or something, I'm gonna feel a little bit cautious anytime that man says, "I'm staying away." I'm not buying it. And I know what Madison Square Garden lip service sounds like.
And not only that, like, the team has to give him a reason to be quiet, right? Like, so over the past few seasons, you've seen progress after progress after progress. And so it doesn't give him really a reason to jump in. But if we're going to continue to play like we've seen today, he may be like, oh shit, nah, something's wrong, and jump in and do some wild shit. At the end of the day, the front office is the front office, but he's the owner. He can overpower all of them and do something that no one is okay with because he's the owner. And so this team needs to get it together so that no dumb shit is done.
I mean, simply put, I'm curious to see what the next 4 games hold. You know what I mean? Remember, February is right around the corner now, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
Trade talks is gonna surface more and more until that time frame passes, regardless if they're playing well or if they're not playing well. But at the end of the day, I'm curious to see if they gonna end the losing streak at least within the next 2 games.
Well, since you talk about trades, here's another clip from James Dolan.
One of the big names that Knicks fans have fantasized about, who it's come out that he wants to be a Knick or wanted to be a Knick. How close were we to acquiring Giannis? And I'm not saying right now, I know you can't meddle right now. He's an active player in the league. But before this season started, there were reports that came out that there was the possibility of a trade a year ago. Any truth to that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Really?
No. And I think, look, we love our team right now.
Right.
Right. They have chemistry. They all like each other. I've never seen a locker room more, just more copacetic.
Right.
There's a lot of energy in there, and I don't. Leon can always overrule me, but I don't see us making a big change because we got to keep building up this group, right? This group can win a championship.
So in that, he says a whole lot, right? One, the nonsense that's been put out with Giannis, dead it. Just dead it. We don't hear a lot from our front office, so we can just solely go by either what the media says, believe it or not believe it. But for someone in a position to say, no, this team is going to be left alone, we'll see. Again, like you said, Knickerbocker, who really knows with him? But I think that was good to hear. I hate that it's all Knicks fans want to know or been, big on Giannis, because don't speak for all Knicks fans. We all ain't want him. Speak for your own self. When I speak for myself, I'm gonna say I want to know about this. You don't speak for all of us. But I like that he says, I like that he says, that this team loves each other. They get well they get along. He hasn't seen a team, like this in a while. And I mean, that's how I felt up until this point. Now with this attitude that I'm seeing from them, I'm a little, but I'm just chalking it up to, these last 4 losing games. And I hope they do turn it around, because again, losing will make front offices and owners make rash decisions that we may regret going forward.
Well, just stem back to 2011.
Yep.
The Knicks were 2 games over 500 going into the All-Star break. I think they lost 2 of the last 3. That the rumor was being heavily circulated. It's been circulated for months. And then the crazy decision that was overruled because Donnie Walsh, who was the general manager at the time, did not want to make that trade. He insisted that if Melo wanted to come to the Knicks, let him come as a free agent. Of course, because the CBA was what it was at the time, and he wanted his extension, he wanted his money, and he wanted to come to New York. He was even willing to go to Brooklyn to do it. And Mr. Dolan knew that very well, overruled him, made the trade happen where I think it was like a total of 15 players were moved around. Bunch of draft picks.
10 years.
Says us back about, I'd say 5 years. But we ended up getting Carmelo Anthony. We also got a bunch of other stuff that we didn't want, but we got Carmelo Anthony. And that was a James Dolan move. How do I know that? He said so. And that's also the reason why Donnie Walsh resigned right after that. Len Grunwald took over.
Even Carmelo said it. Even Carmelo said it, that he did it.
Yeah. And knowing full well what ended up happening was that Glenn Grunwald took over the team, started to build a team. That was the 54-win team that we won in 2012, 2013. And then when that team started to gel and started to become a contender, here comes James Dolan again and overruled the general manager. Not making basketball mind and judgment. Started to fiddle with the team. Made the trade for Andrea Bargnani. Everybody remember that one? Yeah. That's when you just want to kill yourself for that. But it is what it is. So it's nice that he's saying that. He's also aged a lot. It's crazy to see how much he aged. But I still don't trust him. I know James Dolan can be sometimes a petulant child, but maybe he'll keep his word. Just know that I'm keeping my eye on him. And when he fired Tom Thibodeau, because I believe that it was him that made the decision. Obviously, because they didn't even have a backup plan. They didn't. Mike Brown was not their first choice. Dom, our good friend Dominic Donardo will always tell you, he was never our first choice. He wasn't even our 3rd or 5th choice. So the fact that Mike Brown's the head coach right now is by virtue of James Dolan. So it is what it is. But I don't know. Tell you guys, let us know what you think about James Dolan and his comments. Let us know in the comment section. Also, if you have a strong hot take, please feel free to hit up with a super chat. We will put it up there right. We'll stop what we're doing and we'll address it. Fraz?
I mean, we all know the history with James Dolan. He's become more lax over the last few years because of the recent success. But it's like at some point you can only think like, all right, this guy he gonna end up getting involved in somewhere. And you just like, oh man, it never ends well when he gets involved. So the only thing I can say is I think we need to see how things play out from now up until the trade deadline, which is what, February 8th this year, if I'm correct?
I believe so.
February 8th this year, because February 9th last year. So yeah, I'm gonna be curious in watching everything up until February 8th when the trade deadline is come and gone. I'm just curious to see if somebody's gonna push the green light on some kind of deal to try and bolster the team. Like I said, there's a lot of basketball between now and February 8th, so
I do find it kind of interesting that he did say that Leon does overrule him in a lot of things. And then it just hit me, and I was like, wait, Leon was his agent. Leon, I think, is still his agent, or if not, his son is. That was the whole conspiracy for many years of how Leon, being of CAA, Collective Creative Arts Agency, and how Mr. Dolan has always been like infatuated and involved with CAA, only hiring CAA clients, and that was the whole thing with him and Rich Paul, and that's why LeBron didn't want to come here in 2011 or whatever the hell it was. And so, in some ways, now I think that he might listen to him, but all it needs to be is just the right moment for the holy shit button is pressed, and Mr. Dolan will just be Jimmy Jam Dolan, the guy we always known to meddle and making basketball decisions without having a basketball mind, and that's how he is. Any other final thoughts before we head on out? It's wasn't the greatest show, had a technical difficulties, and it always sucks when it's okay to lose. It's just not okay to lose this way.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I think the lack of effort is just totally unacceptable. And like you said, I can take a loss if it was a hard fought loss. If we played to our best of our ability and just wasn't good enough that night, because teams have great nights. You know what I mean? But to give no effort, to see poor body language, to see no one help JB, it's just not acceptable. And as fans, we should not accept this type of shit. Period. Say what you want about Jalen Brunson. He shows up every motherfucking night. He shows up every night. It's very rare that he doesn't. JB's not giving us 6 points. JB's not having 4 and 5, terrible games back to back to back. That he will show up. But like you say, Knickerbocker, getting paid whatever $60 million a season, giving us 6 points and 1 rebound, and you're 7 foot. That's not okay. It's not okay. OG and McCall not showing up in one game. That's not normal. Usually it's one or both showing up. You know what I mean? Not both having bad nights. And what's even more worrisome for me is that this was Detroit's second game of a back-to-back. And it was a hard-fought game against Cleveland last night. And they came out
and mollywopped our ass.
Mollywopped our ass for sure. We look like we done played 4, 5, 6 games in a fucking row the way we came out tonight. So that's been my issue, is really, the body language. You look at them on the bench, they look very uninterested. JB doesn't even look mad anymore. He looks frustrated. Almost like at a loss for, like, he doesn't even know what the fuck is going on. So yeah, that's my problem. And yeah, I'm not a happy Knicks fan right now.
In other words,
It just this team has so many high expectations, and just this type of shit is just uncalled for.
Fraz,
All I could really say is I'd rather it happen now than later in the season when seeding is up for grabs and the playoff spot may be on the line. I'd rather it happen now and see progress to correct it. Because at the end of the day, it still may be issues even after this game. Because you got some West Coast games, you got some West Coast teams coming up to play, and that's where the danger lies. You know, and it's another back to back, if I'm not mistaken, Wednesday and Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, right? So, with that being said,
hold on. We got a Celtics fan in the chat. I actually entertain those kind of, it's okay because as long as we're talking basketball, it's all good. I always welcome it. If you're just going to talk nonsense for the sake of talking nonsense, I'm done with you. But all right, that's funny.
Bro, you play Chicago with no Josh Giddey tonight, bro. Cut it out, man. Nobody wants to hear that.
I just find it funny that people come in our chat only when we lose and they win. I would never go and look at no other podcasts, other teams. I don't even go look at other Knicks podcasts, to be honest. Never mind another team. Like, y'all give me real disgruntled Knicks fan vibes when y'all come in our chat.
Sometimes.
Because what the fuck you on YouTube looking up Knicks podcast for?
It's all, but you know what? Again, if you're gonna talk basketball, I welcome it. If you're just gonna be obnoxious and just, then that's when I don't want to deal with you. But whoever this was, what was his name? No Strays 1. We watching you, bro. We watching you.
Don't make me come find you in the YouTube streets and control your little podcast or whatever it is you want, even if you got one, because I will find you. But let me know one thing for all y'all haters that be pulling up here, right? And I'm gonna leave it at this after that. Y'all can talk as much smack as y'all want coming in here. Just do me one favor. If you're not going to bet the parlay, Lord, and put your money where your mouth is on your team, I don't want to hear shit.
Yes.
Simple as that.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, y'all talk so much, but would you put that money on your team? Hey, Tone, I'm going to leave you a little message here. I already accepted your bet. You about to lose $300 to the parlay, Lord. And you ain't even going to expect it.
He going to block you. He ain't going to pay you.
Listen.
He mad because we're not listening to him anymore.
Facts.
At the end of the day, I've been dubbed the parlay God for a reason. I bet on the Knicks. I bet on my team. Do y'all got the gusto to bet on y'all's? That's the question.
With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Nixon-ish. Crazy night, isn't it? I want to thank everybody for joining on. Sis, did you have anything else you wanted to say? All right. I want to thank everybody for joining us on Nixon-ish. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Sharing is always caring. Share the stream here on YouTube, on all your social media platforms. Let people know that we're here. Let us, show the love, show the support. Be sure to also hit up the Nixon-ish Shopify and copy yourself some merch. We got that garden certified. We got some new stuff coming in the next couple of weeks. Me and T got to brainstorm on that one, as well as if you forgot anybody, look at that. Look at it. It's right there. It's right there. The Nixon-ish hoodie.
Yeah.
And they come in different colors as well. Also, so we will be back on Wednesday night when the Knicks take on the Los Angeles Clippers at Madison Square Garden. But until then, tea time, Kev. Shout outs to you. We love you. We miss you guys. For the Parlay Lord, for the First Lady, Mrs. Knicks, I'm your boy, the infamous one, Knickerbocker Ave. Have a good night, everybody. Keep talking that ish, New York. And of course,
Hit the outro.
Boom shakalaka! The Knicks are great. These kids and our party just lit. That's the Parlay Lord. You know we lick Knickerbocker, have a talk.